Your hands on the keys. It is 7:58 in the morning. The National Anthem starts in 2 minutes, and then, from somewhere to the northwest, the sky makes a sound it has never made before. 21 men are about to drop their instruments and run towards something. This is what that felt like. But to understand what happened in those 11 minutes, you have to go back to the night before, to a competition that was never going to be a competition, in a letter that was never going to get finished. December 6th, 1941, Saturday night, Bloch Arena, Pearl Harbor Naval Station. The arena is loud, bright, and packed with Navy and Marine bands running through their sets for the Battle of Music semifinals. You are sitting in the audience, not on the stage, because Navy Band Unit 22 already qualified 3 weeks ago. You came in second. Second was enough. The finals are December 20th, and it's kind of a good feeling. That easy confidence of someone who's already won the first fight and just has to show up for the next one. You leave before midnight. Back on the ship, you take out your instrument and polish it. Not because it needs it, because you have 13 days and the finals are real now, and it helps to hold something solid when you're this close to something that matters. You start a letter to your kid sister. First line, "After the finals, I'll tell you if we won." Then you put it face down on the bunk. Rex is sitting a few feet away, senior musician, been in the Pacific Fleet longer than you've been in the Navy. You say something, nothing important, and he gives you the line he always gives when anyone raises the subject of whether this harbor is safe, whether this Sunday is going to be like every other Sunday. "Don't worry about it," he says. "The Pacific's the safe post." But in less than 11 hours, that line is going to mean something completely different, and you're not going to be there to hear what it becomes. Here's what most people get wrong. The popular story says the Arizona's band was asleep when the attack began, that they performed the night before, stayed out late, slept in. That is false. NBU 22 did not perform on December 6th. They attended as spectators. They had already qualified. When December 7th came, they were awake, dressed, and in formation. 2 rows of uniformed band members stood on the USS Arizona's Fantail, warming up, waiting to play the National Anthem at 8 o'clock sharp. The Arizona was moored at berth Fox 7 on Battleship Row. 1,512 men aboard. Officers had gone ashore. Men were finishing breakfast. The sky was that kind of blue that makes you think nothing bad has ever happened here, or ever could. But before the planes arrive, there's something you need to understand about where the band was going to run, because it wasn't away from the ship. Every man aboard the Arizona had a battle station. The band's was below decks, powder handling, ammunition loading for the 14-inch gun turrets, positioned directly beneath the forward magazine. The compartment holding more than 1 million pounds of smokeless gunpowder. These 21 musicians had trained for this exact scenario. When the instrument goes on the deck, you run below. That was the plan. That's where they were supposed to go. And that is exactly where they went. The instrument is polished. The letter is face down in the bunk. The finals are 13 days away. At 0750, everything changed. Forever. The band members could see the planes with the rising sun on their wings. They knew it wasn't a drill. All 21 of them dropped their instruments and broke formation and ran. Not away, but toward the forward magazine, toward the powder handling positions below turret 2, following their training exactly. No one had to order them to be brave. They just went. At approximately 7:55, the air raid alarm sounded. General Quarters was called. The word was passed to set material condition Z, the ship's full watertight closure, hatches sealed, all compartments locked for battle. The Arizona absorbed multiple bomb strikes. Fires broke out across the deck. Donald Stratton, a sailor at one of the anti-aircraft positions, later wrote that gunners found themselves with only the ammunition in their ready boxes, the rest of what they so desperately needed locked up below decks. The ship was kind of groaning under the weight of what was hitting it. Sounds that didn't belong on any Sunday morning. Sounds that didn't have names yet. The instrument is still on the Fantail. The letter is still in the bunk, and the bomb that changes everything, the one that takes slightly less than 7 seconds to do it, is on its way down. At approximately 8:06, a single armor-piercing bomb, roughly 1,700 pounds, a modified naval artillery shell, struck near turret number 2. The Defense POW/MIA Accounting Agency's supplement report confirms the bomb type and the location of impact. The USNI's 1997 forensic analysis reconstructed the path. Through 4 decks, through more than 5.5 inches of armor, igniting the smokeless powder magazine on the starboard side of the number 2 turret handling room. From strike to catastrophic detonation, captured on film, took slightly less than 7 seconds. 7 seconds. But here is what the forensic record also says, and this matters. The mechanism is not fully agreed upon. The Naval Historical and Heritage Command notes the explosion has never been fully explained because the bomb apparently did not pierce the armored deck protecting the magazines. The NPS underwater archaeology study found physical evidence consistent with a forward magazine detonation, but also documented conflicting accounts suggesting a possible torpedo strike. The 1997 and 2001 USNI analyses proposed the most detailed reconstruction, but even those are scholarly models, not settled certainties. What is certain, approximately 582 tons of smokeless powder consumed in 7 seconds on film, and the debate about how the bomb got there is still alive in the historical record today. The explosion lifted the Arizona 30 to 40 feet out of the water. Everything forward of the mainmast was on fire. On the adjacent repair ship Vestal, a sailor named Joe George was ordered to cut the line between the 2 ships and pull clear. He looked across 70 feet of burning water and saw men alive on the Arizona. He disobeyed his orders. He picked up a weighted heaving line and threw it. 6 men grabbed that rope and crawled across, hand over hand, above the burning harbor. Donald Stratton was one of them, burns covering 65% of his body. He made it. Joe George was not decorated for what he did that morning. He waited 76 years. The Navy recognized him in 2017. 6 men crossed the rope. 21 men had gone below. In the weeks after the attack, the surviving bands of the Pacific Fleet held a vote for who should receive the Battle of Music trophy, the competition scheduled for December 20th, the competition that was never held. The vote was unanimous. The trophy went to Navy Band Unit 22, USS Arizona, awarded posthumously, renamed the Arizona Trophy. These were bands that had competed against them, that had their own reasons to want the prize. They voted unanimously, not because it was required, but because something was owed and couldn't be paid any other way. The competition was never held. The performance no one ever heard was declared the winner anyway. The unfinished letters stayed in the bunk. Most of the band members' bodies were never recovered. The Arizona's forward section was too devastated, the wreck too severe. Families waited. Days became weeks. The silence, when it finally became official, was the answer. His kid sister waited for a word that was never written. After the finals, I'll tell you if we won. The finals never came. The word never came. Donald Stratton wrote this, years later, about the men who didn't make it off. These memories lie within me, forever still and silent, like the men entombed in the Arizona. Navy Band Unit 22 is the only U.S. military band in American history that formed together, trained together, transferred together, reported aboard a ship together, fought together, and died together. They were not caught sleeping. They were not unprepared. They were in formation, instruments in hand, doing exactly what they were supposed to be doing. When the planes appeared, they dropped the instruments and ran exactly where training told them to run. They ran towards something. Now listen to what the official record says about the minutes before they got there. This is from Lieutenant Commander Samuel Fuqua's action report, filed December 13th, 1941. Fuqua was the senior surviving officer on the Arizona. This is what he wrote. The air raid alarm was sounded immediately when the attack was apparent. General quarters was sounded and word was passed to set material condition Z. The alarm was sounded. General quarters was called. The word was passed. Everything was done correctly. The Pacific was the safe post. Rex believed it. The Pacific Fleet believed it. The institution believed it. It was correct, right up until the moment it wasn't. And in the 7 seconds between the bomb strike and the detonation, in a mechanism that forensic engineers with film footage and dive archaeology still cannot completely agree on, the Arizona went down. Your hands were on the keys, the harbor was still, the sky was that kind of blue. 2 minutes until morning colors.